I'll never forget the way my daughter looked at me when I came home from the hospital. Not with joy, not with relief, with fear. Like I was a dangerous stranger who'd come to take something that belonged to her. She stepped backward when I reached for her. Actually stepped back, pressing herself against her grandmother's legs, and said the words that would haunt me for months. "Grandma told us you left because you didn't love us anymore." 6 years old. My baby girl was 6 years old, and she believed I'd abandoned her. The house smelled wrong. Not like home, like someone else's perfume, heavy and floral, nothing like the light vanilla body spray I'd always worn. My throw pillows were gone, replaced with ones I'd never seen. The family photos on the mantel had been rearranged. Even the kids' room smelled like my mother-in-law's lavender sachets, instead of the baby powder and kid sweat smell that used to be there. 3 weeks. I'd been gone 3 weeks, fighting for my life in an ICU bed. And in that time, someone had tried to erase me from my own family. My name is LaShawn Williams, and I'm 41 years old. I teach 4th grade at Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary in Southwest Atlanta, where I've worked for 15 years. Before all this happened, I thought I had a good life. Not perfect, nobody's life is perfect, but good, solid, mine. I'd been married to my husband Curtis for 10 years. We met at a Juneteenth celebration in Piedmont Park, back when we were both young and carefree, and thought we had all the time in the world. He was there with his boys from his fraternity. I was there with my line sisters from Delta. And somehow we ended up in the same group watching the step show. I remember he made some joke about one of the steppers being offbeat, and I'd corrected him, told him the guy was actually doing a counterpoint rhythm that was intentional. Curtis had looked at me with this surprised, delighted expression and said, "Okay, so you know your stuff." I like that. By the end of the day, we'd exchanged numbers. By the end of the month, we'd been on 5 dates. By the end of the year, he'd proposed on bended knee in front of my whole family at Christmas dinner. Curtis is a good man, a systems analyst for Delta, steady and reliable in all the ways that matter. The kind of man who still kissed me goodbye every morning, even after 10 years of marriage. Who remembered to pick up my favorite mint chocolate chip ice cream without being asked. Who could make me laugh even when I was stressed about work, or worried about money, or just tired from being a working mom. We had 2 beautiful children when this nightmare started. Elijah, 8 years old, with his daddy's wide smile and my stubborn determination. He was smart, scary smart, and he loved reading fantasy novels and building elaborate Lego structures that took up half the living room floor. And Amara, my baby girl, 6 years old, with my eyes and her daddy's gentle heart. She was the kind of kid who brought home every stray cat in the neighborhood and cried when we had to take them to the shelter. Who made friendship bracelets for her entire 1st grade class. Who told me every single day that I was the best mama in the whole world. Until she didn't anymore. Before Isaiah was born, before I got sick, before everything fell apart, our life had a rhythm to it, a routine. Monday through Friday, Curtis and I would get up at 6. He'd start the coffee while I woke the kids. Elijah was always hard to wake. That boy could sleep through a hurricane. But Amara would bounce out of bed like she'd been shot from a cannon, already talking a mile a minute about her dreams, or what she wanted to wear, or what snack she wanted in her lunchbox. I'd make breakfast, nothing fancy, usually oatmeal or grits with a little butter and brown sugar, while Curtis got the kids dressed and made sure they brushed their teeth. Then we'd all pile in the car, and I'd drop them at their school before heading to mine. After work, I'd pick them up, and we'd come home to homework and dinner and bath time. Curtis would get home around 6:30, and we'd all eat together at the kitchen table. No phones, no TV, just family time. Elijah would tell us about what he learned in school. Amara would tell us elaborate stories about recess drama, and Curtis and I would exchange those little looks that married couples do when their kids say something adorable or ridiculous. Tuesday nights were library nights. We'd go check out books together, and both kids would come home with stacks that they'd devour by the weekend. Thursdays, I'd do Amara's hair, wash it, deep condition it, braid it into cornrows, or twist it into bantu knots, whatever she wanted that week. She'd sit between my knees in the living room, watching Encanto for the millionth time, and I'd work through her thick hair section by section, massaging her scalp, making her feel loved and beautiful and cared for. Sundays were church, and then Sunday dinner. We'd go to New Bethel Baptist, same church Curtis's family had been going to for 3 generations, and then come home to a big meal. Sometimes I'd cook: collard greens, fried chicken, mac and cheese, cornbread, the whole spread. Sometimes we'd pick something up from the soul food spot on Cascade. Either way, we'd eat together, usually with Curtis's brother Marcus and his family, sometimes with my mama when she drove up from Birmingham. It was a good life. Not fancy or exciting, maybe, but it was ours. It was enough. And then we decided to have one more baby. It wasn't a careless decision. Curtis and I talked about it for months. Elijah was 8, getting more independent every day. Amara was 6, thriving in 1st grade. And both of us felt like our family wasn't quite complete yet, like there was one more person meant to be sitting at our dinner table. So we tried, and God blessed us. I got pregnant at 40, which my doctor said was higher risk but manageable with good prenatal care. The pregnancy was harder than my previous 2. More fatigue, more nausea, more aches and pains. By my 3rd trimester, I could barely tie my own shoes. But I made it through, and on September 13th, after 12 hours of labor, I delivered a healthy baby boy. We named him Isaiah. Isaiah Curtis Williams, 7 pounds, 3 ounces of perfect. I remember holding him for the first time and feeling this overwhelming sense of completion. Like, yes, this was it. This was our family. These 3 children were exactly who we were meant to have. The delivery itself went fine. Textbook, my doctor said. No complications. Isaiah latched right away. My vitals were good. They kept us for the standard 48 hours, and then we went home, exhausted but happy, ready to start our new life as a family of 5. That first night home is burned into my memory. Curtis picked up dinner from Busy Bee Cafe. Nothing fancy, just rotisserie chicken, mac and cheese, collards, and cornbread. We sat around the kitchen table, Isaiah sleeping in his bassinet next to me, and Elijah and Amara peppered us with questions about their baby brother. "Can I hold him?" Amara asked for the 10th time. "After dinner, baby," I told her, "when your hands are clean." "Is he gonna sleep in my room?" she wanted to know. "No, he's gonna be in his own room," Curtis said, "but you can visit him whenever you want." "Can I teach him how to read?" Elijah asked. "When he's older, absolutely." After dinner, I sat in the nursery with Isaiah while both kids took turns holding him, their faces full of wonder. Curtis stood in the doorway watching us, and when I caught his eye, he smiled at me with so much love it made my chest ache. "We did good," he mouthed. "Yeah," I mouthed back. "We really did." That was Friday night. By Sunday morning, I knew something was terribly wrong. It started small. A slight fever, some cramping. I thought it was just normal post-birth stuff, my body adjusting, my uterus contracting back down. I took some Tylenol and tried to rest. By Sunday afternoon, the fever had spiked to 101. By evening, it was 103. I remember being in bed, shaking so hard my teeth chattered, feeling like I was on fire and freezing at the same time. My skin felt too tight, my head was pounding, and there was this pain, deep, visceral pain in my abdomen that felt like something was tearing me apart from the inside. Curtis was on the phone with the on-call OB nurse, his voice tight with worry. "Her fever's at 103.5 now," he was saying. "She's shaking. She can barely stay awake. Should I bring her in?" I tried to tell him something hurt, but my mouth wouldn't form the words. Everything was getting fuzzy around the edges. I could see Curtis's face, but it was like looking through water. "We're going to the hospital," Curtis said, hanging up. "Now." "But the baby—" "My mother's already on her way. She'll watch the kids. LaShawn, we need to go. This isn't normal." I don't remember much about the drive to Grady Hospital, just fragments. Curtis's hand gripping mine so hard it hurt. The blur of streetlights through the windshield. The way my whole body ached, like I'd been hit by a truck. I remember thinking, I just need to sleep. If I could just sleep for a little while, I'd be okay. But I wasn't okay. The ER was bright and loud and chaotic. I remember a nurse taking my temperature and her face changing when she saw the reading. I remember someone saying my blood pressure was dropping. I remember being wheeled somewhere fast, people talking over me in urgent voices. "BP is 85/50 and falling. Get her on fluids, wide open. We need labs stat, CBC, CMP, lactate, blood cultures. Mrs. Williams, can you hear me?" I tried to answer, but nothing came out. My body felt like it was shutting down, piece by piece, like someone was slowly turning off all the lights inside me. A doctor appeared, a young black woman with kind eyes and braids wrapped in a bun. She leaned over me and her voice was gentle but urgent. "Mrs. Williams, you have sepsis. Your body is fighting a severe infection. We need to intubate you and get you to the ICU immediately. Do you understand?" I tried to nod, tried to say yes, tried to tell Curtis I loved him, tried to tell him to take care of our babies, tried to tell him I was scared. But my body wasn't working anymore. I could hear them talking, but couldn't respond. Could feel hands on me, but couldn't move. Could see Curtis's face above me, tears streaming down his cheeks, his mouth forming words I couldn't hear. And then there was just darkness. Cold, complete darkness. And in that darkness, I heard a voice that might have been mine. "I'm not ready. Please. I have 3 babies. I'm not ready to go." What happened next, I only know because Curtis told me later. Told me through tears and shaking hands, sitting by my bedside weeks later when I finally woke up. The doctors explained that I'd developed an infection in my uterus that had spread to my bloodstream. Postpartum sepsis. Bacteria had gotten in, probably through a small tear during delivery, and my immune system, already weakened from pregnancy and childbirth, couldn't fight it off fast enough. By the time I got to the ER, my organs were starting to fail. My kidneys, my liver, my lungs. The infection was winning, and I was losing. They intubated me, put a breathing tube down my throat because my lungs couldn't work on their own anymore. They pumped me full of broad-spectrum antibiotics, fluids, medications to keep my blood pressure up. They put in central lines and arterial lines and urinary catheters. They hooked me up to machines that beeped and whirred and kept me alive when my body couldn't do it anymore. The first 72 hours were critical, the doctors told Curtis. Touch and go. They didn't know if I'd make it. They prepared him for the worst. Curtis called my mother in Birmingham, called his siblings, called Pastor Williams from New Bethel Baptist Church. Within hours, I was on prayer chains all over Atlanta. Hundreds of people praying for a woman they'd never met, because that's what church folk do. They show up, they pray, they carry each other. He tried to bring the kids to see me once in those first few days, but it was too much. Amara took one look at me, tubes in my mouth, machines everywhere, pale and still and barely alive, and she started screaming. Eli just stood there frozen, staring, his little face blank with shock. The nurses gently suggested maybe it was better to wait, better to let the kids remember me as I was, not like this. Just in case I didn't make it. I don't remember those 3 weeks. The doctors said I was in and out of consciousness, never quite aware. Sometimes my eyes would open, but I wasn't really there, just a body breathing with machine assistance, fighting a war I couldn't see. But I did have dreams, fragments of them, fever dreams that felt more real than reality. In one, I was at home, standing in the kitchen doorway, watching my family eat dinner without me. But no matter how loud I shouted, they couldn't hear me. They couldn't see me. Amara looked right through me, like I was already a ghost. In another, I was drowning, sinking down into dark water, lungs burning, reaching up toward light I couldn't reach. And Curtis's voice was calling to me from somewhere above the surface. Come back, baby. Please come back. But I was too heavy, sinking too fast. In another, I was holding Isaiah, except he kept getting smaller and smaller in my arms until he disappeared completely. And I was searching everywhere for him, panicking, knowing I'd failed him somehow, knowing I'd let him slip away. Sometimes I'd surface just enough to hear voices. Curtis, sitting by my bed. The kids miss you so much. Eli asked when you're coming home. I didn't know what to tell him. Please, baby, please fight. They need you. I need you. My mother, her voice breaking. That's my baby girl. That's my baby. God, please don't take my baby from me. A doctor speaking to someone in a low voice. The next 48 hours will tell us if the antibiotics are working, if her organs don't start improving soon. And I wanted to tell them I was trying, that I was fighting with everything I had, but I was so tired, so heavy, and the darkness kept pulling at me, promising rest, promising peace. It would be so easy to just let go. But somewhere in that darkness, I heard my children's voices, heard Amara crying, heard Elijah asking why Mama wouldn't wake up, heard Isaiah, my newborn baby I'd barely gotten to know, crying in a way that said he needed his mother. And I fought, even when I didn't know I was fighting, even when I was lost in fever and medication and the endless darkness. I fought, because I wasn't done yet. I had 3 babies who needed me, and I wasn't ready to leave them. 3 weeks. What Curtis didn't know. While I was lying in that ICU bed, fighting for my life, Clara was systematically taking over mine. Curtis told me later how it started, how she'd shown up that first night when he called her in a panic, how she'd taken charge immediately. "You go be with LaShawn," she'd said. "I'll handle everything here." And she did handle everything, but not the way we would have wanted. The first week, Curtis was barely functional. He'd go to work because he had to. Someone needed to keep the insurance active, keep the paycheck coming. But every spare moment he was at the hospital, sitting by my bedside, praying, hoping, falling apart in hospital bathrooms where no one could see. He came home late every night to find the kids already in bed, the house clean, Clara cooking in the kitchen like she lived there. "How are they doing?" he'd ask. "They're fine," Clara would say. "I'm handling it. You focus on LaShawn." And he did, because he trusted her.
Because she was his mother, and mothers don't hurt their grandchildren.
Except Clara wasn't just helping. She was replacing me. It started small. Little things Curtis didn't notice because he was drowning in fear and exhaustion. Clara moved into Amara's room to keep her company at night. She started doing Amara's hair, but not the way I did it. She did it her way, with her products, her style. She started choosing the kids' clothes, packing their lunches, signing their homework folders. She threw out my favorite coffee mug, the one that said, "World's Best Mom," that the kids had given me for Mother's Day. It was chipped, she told Curtis when he asked about it. Didn't want anyone cutting themselves. She rearranged the living room furniture. Better flow, she explained. She bought new curtains for the kitchen, brightening things up a bit. She stopped making the foods I usually made. The grits with butter and brown sugar, the spaghetti with turkey meat sauce, the banana pudding the kids loved. Instead, she made her food, her recipes, her way. And the kids, desperate for stability in a world where their mother had suddenly disappeared and their father was a ghost, they latched onto her. But Clara didn't just want to help them through a crisis. She wanted to be me. And she was willing to destroy me to do it. The second week, when it became clear I might not make it, Clara's manipulation intensified. She started telling the kids stories. Little comments at first, testing the waters. "Your mama was so tired after the baby was born," she'd say while tucking Amara into bed. She kept saying how exhausted she was, how she wished she could just rest. "Is that why she's in the hospital?" Amara would ask. "Maybe," Clara would say. "Or maybe she just needed a break." With Elijah, she was more subtle, more insidious. "You know how hard your mama works," she'd say while helping him with homework. "Teaching all day, then coming home to you kids, it's a lot for one person." "Mama likes taking care of us," Elijah would say defensively. "Of course she does," Clara would soothe. "But sometimes even mamas get overwhelmed. Sometimes they need space." She'd make phone calls when the kids were supposed to be asleep, but they weren't. They'd hear her talking to her friends, her sisters, her church group. "I'm essentially raising these children now," she'd say. "Curtis is falling apart, and LaShawn, well, we don't know if she's coming back. If she doesn't make it, these babies will be mine to raise." Amara heard that. She told me later, tears streaming down her face. She'd been getting water in the middle of the night and heard her grandmother on the phone, talking about how she was going to be their new mother. Clara bought them presents, toys and clothes and treats, things Curtis and I would have said no to. And she'd whisper conspiratorially, "This is our secret, okay? Don't tell Daddy. He's too stressed right now." She taught Amara a new bedtime song, not the one I'd always sung, but her own lullaby from when Curtis was a baby. She'd sit on the edge of Amara's bed, stroking her hair, singing in this soft, sweet voice. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Grandma's gonna buy you a mockingbird." And Amara, desperate for comfort, would fall asleep to Clara's voice instead of mine. Clara bought them new pajamas, ones she picked out, not the ones I would have chosen. She bought Amara a new doll, one that looked nothing like the dolls I'd bought her. She took Elijah to get new Lego sets, expensive ones Curtis and I would have said no to. "This is for me," she'd whisper. "This is because Grandma loves you so much. Don't tell Daddy. Let it be our special secret." She called her friends on the phone, late at night when she thought the kids were asleep. But Amara heard her. Amara told me months later, crying, about lying in bed and hearing her grandmother's voice through the walls. "If LaShawn doesn't make it, and between you and me, Diane, it's not looking good. These children will need me," Clara would say. "I'm already basically their mother. They come to me for everything. Curtis is a mess, and LaShawn, well, even if she does survive, she'll be too weak to handle them." Another call. "I've been thinking about moving here permanently, getting an apartment nearby. These babies need stability, and I can give them that." Another. "It's a blessing, really. A second chance at motherhood. I'll do it right this time." She'd tell the kids stories about Curtis when he was little, but twist them. "Your daddy used to get so sad when I had to leave after visits. He'd cry for days. You wouldn't want to make him that sad again, would you? If Grandma had to leave?" She'd show them photos of Curtis as a child. "This was when I was raising him all by myself. His father was never around. It was just me and him. I did everything for him. Fed him, clothed him, loved him. Just like I'm doing for you now." The manipulation was systematic, calculated. She'd plant seeds of doubt about me, then water them with fake sympathy. "Your mama loved you so much," she'd say with a sad smile. But sometimes, loving someone isn't enough. Sometimes people are just too tired, too overwhelmed. It's not their fault. It's just how they're made. She'd sigh dramatically while making dinner. "Your mama used to get so stressed about cooking. She'd complain about how much work it was. But Grandma doesn't mind. Grandma loves taking care of you." She'd look at my wedding photos on the mantel and shake her head sadly. "Your mama was so young when she married your daddy. I don't think she really understood what she was getting into. Marriage, children. It's harder than people think." Day after day, little comments, little suggestions, little lies dressed up as concern. And the kids, 6 and 8 years old, terrified that their mother might be dying, absorbed every word. On the Thursday of the second week, Clara called Isaiah's pediatrician and introduced herself as the primary caregiver. She made an appointment for his 1-month checkup without telling Curtis. Took Isaiah herself. Sat in that exam room and answered the doctor's questions like she was his mother. "He's eating well, sleeping through the night, hitting all his milestones," she reported back to Curtis that evening. "The doctor said he's perfect." Curtis, exhausted and barely functional, just nodded. Didn't think to ask why his mother had made that call instead of him. Didn't think to question why she was taking over everything. Because that's what Clara counted on, that Curtis would be too broken to notice, too grateful for the help to see the takeover. And then, in the 3rd week, when the doctors started saying I might actually survive, that's when Clara got desperate. That's when she started telling them I'd chosen to leave. "Your mama's been in the hospital for a long time," she'd say. "Don't you think if she really wanted to come home, she would have by now?" "The doctor said she's really sick," Elijah would protest. "Or maybe she's using that as an excuse," Clara would suggest. "Maybe she wanted some time away from the responsibility. Babies are a lot of work. Maybe she decided she needed a vacation." She showed them photos on her phone, stock images of beaches, resorts, places she claimed I was recovering at. See? She's not in a hospital bed. She's resting somewhere nice. But Daddy said, Daddy doesn't want you to be upset. He's protecting you. But I think you're old enough to know the truth. She told them I didn't want Isaiah, that God had made me sick as punishment for being selfish, that I'd complained about being pregnant, about having another baby, about how tired I was. None of it was true, but she said it with such confidence, such authority, that my children, 6 and 8 years old, terrified and confused, started to believe her. By the time I woke up, by the time I was strong enough to come home, Clara had spent 3 weeks poisoning my children against me. 3 weeks of daily reinforcement. 3 weeks of lies wrapped in concern and love. And Curtis had no idea. Because he was at the hospital every evening. Because Clara was careful never to say these things when he was around. Because she was his mother, and he trusted her. It was the perfect manipulation. And it had worked. When I woke up on the 20th day, confused and disoriented, my throat raw from the breathing tube, Curtis was there. His face was gaunt, his eyes sunken with exhaustion. But when he saw me looking at him, really looking, really awake, he started crying. "Thank God," he kept saying. "Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you." "Curtis?" My voice was barely a whisper, my throat too damaged to speak properly. "I'm here, baby. I'm right here." "The kids?" "They're okay. Everyone's okay. You just need to focus on getting better." "Isaiah?" "He's perfect, growing like a weed." He paused, then added, "My mama's been helping. She moved in to take care of everything." Clara, my mother-in-law. I felt a flicker of gratitude. She'd helped. She'd been there when we needed her. I had no idea what she'd done. "How long?" I managed to croak out. Curtis's face crumpled. 3 weeks, LaShawn. You've been here 3 weeks. We almost lost you." 3 weeks. Isaiah was almost a month old, and I'd missed most of it. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Don't you dare apologize," Curtis said fiercely. "None of this is your fault. None of it." But it felt like my fault. Like I'd failed them somehow by getting sick. Like I should have been stronger. The doctors kept me another week for observation, making sure the infection was truly gone, building my strength back up. I lost 22 pounds in those 3 weeks. My hair, which I'd always kept in neat box braids or a fresh silk press, was matted and tangled. My skin looked ashy and thin. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. But I was alive. Against all odds, I was alive. Curtis brought the kids to visit once during that final week, now that I'd been moved to a regular room and they were allowed. I was so excited, so ready to hold my babies and tell them Mama was okay now, Mama was coming home soon. But when they walked through that door, something was wrong. Elijah hung back near the doorway, holding Curtis's hand. He wouldn't look at me. Amara stood next to Clara. When had she arrived? And her little face was closed off, blank. "Hey, babies," I said, trying to keep my voice cheerful, even though my heart was sinking. "Come give Mama a hug." Elijah glanced at his father, then slowly walked over. The hug he gave me was stiff, perfunctory, like hugging a distant relative at a funeral, not his mother. Amara didn't move. "Amara, honey, come see Mama." "She's tired," Clara said quickly, smoothly. "It's been a long day. Maybe we should let you rest." "I want to see my daughter." Clara's smile tightened just slightly. She nudged Amara forward. My baby girl walked over like she was approaching a stranger. She didn't climb into the bed with me like she used to. She just stood there, arms at her sides, her face carefully neutral. "Hi, Mama," she said, and her voice was flat, empty. "Hi, baby girl." I reached out to touch her face, and she flinched. Actually flinched away from my hand like I might hurt her. My heart broke. "They're just scared," Curtis said quietly, seeing my face. "Seeing you in the hospital like this. It's a lot for them to process." "We should go," Clara said. "Let LaShawn rest. The children have school tomorrow." And before I could protest, they were gone. I spent the rest of that evening crying silently into my pillow, wondering what the hell had happened to my children. I should have trusted that instinct. The day I was discharged, Curtis picked me up. I was still weak, could barely walk from the hospital room to the car without getting winded. But I was so happy to be going home, so ready to hold my children, to sleep in my own bed, to be a mother again. We pulled into the driveway, and I could see Amara's face in the living room window, watching, not smiling. My heart sank. Curtis helped me out of the car, one hand under my elbow like I was an old woman, which is how I felt, old and broken and used up. The front door opened before we reached it. Clara stood there in my kitchen apron, my apron, the one with the sunflowers that my mama had given me, smiling like she was welcoming guests to her house. "Welcome home," she said brightly. Come in, come in. I've got everything all set up for you." I walked through my own front door and felt like a stranger. The house smelled wrong. Heavy floral perfume, Clara's signature scent, instead of the vanilla and cinnamon smell it should have had. The throw pillows on the couch were different. The family photos on the mantel had been rearranged. There were new curtains in the kitchen window. My coffee mug was gone, the Mother's Day one with the sunflowers that matched my apron. In its place were Clara's mugs, her style, her taste. "I did some redecorating," Clara said, following my gaze. "Just freshening things up a bit. You don't mind, do you?" I minded. I minded very much. But I was too tired and too weak to say so. "Where are the kids?" "Amara's in her room. Elijah's at Malik's house. They had a play date I arranged. And Isaiah's napping." Clara said all this like it was her household, her schedule, her children. "I want to see Isaiah." "Of course, but maybe wash up first. You know, hospital germs and all. Can't be too careful with a newborn." I wanted to scream that I'd been in the hospital because of a newborn, that I knew about hospital germs, that this was my baby, and I'd been away from him for 3 weeks, and I just wanted to hold him.
But I just nodded and went to wash my hands.
When I finally got to the nursery, Isaiah was awake in his crib, looking up at the mobile. A new mobile, not the one Curtis and I had chosen. He'd grown so much. His face was fuller, his body longer. I'd missed so much. I picked him up carefully, and he started to cry. Not the hungry cry or the tired cry, the stranger cry. The cry that means, "Who are you, and why are you holding me?" My own baby didn't know me. Clara appeared in the doorway. "He's probably hungry. I'll make him a bottle." "I can feed him," I said. "Oh, sweetie, you're not producing milk anymore. Your supply dried up while you were in the hospital. I've been bottle feeding him with formula." Of course it had. Of course I'd lost that, too. Clara took Isaiah from my arms. He stopped crying immediately when she held him, and I stood there in the nursery feeling like the most useless person in the world. I went to find Amara. Her bedroom door was closed, which was unusual. We had a rule about keeping doors open during the day. I knocked. Amara? Baby? Can I come in? Silence. I opened the door anyway. Amara was sitting on her bed with a book, but she wasn't reading. She was just staring at the pages. Her hair was different. Clara had done it in a style I'd never used, with beads I'd never bought. Hey, sweet girl, I said softly, sitting on the edge of her bed. I missed you so much. She didn't look up. Amara, can you look at Mama, please? Finally, she raised her eyes to mine. They were cool, guarded, like she was looking at someone she didn't trust. Grandma Clara said you went on vacation, she said. My blood went cold. What? She said you needed a break from us. That's why you went away. Amara, no. I was in the hospital. I was very sick. I wasn't on vacation. That's what Daddy said, but Grandma said you were lying. The room tilted. Baby, why would I lie about being sick? I don't know. Her voice was small, hurt. Why would Grandma lie? I had no answer for that, not one that a 6-year-old could understand. I wasn't lying, I said, reaching for her hand. I promise you, I was in the hospital. I was so sick I almost died, and all I could think about was coming home to you. She pulled her hand away. Grandma says the new baby made you sick because you didn't really want him. I felt like I'd been slapped. That's not true. I wanted Isaiah very much. I wanted all of you. Then why did God punish you? What? Grandma said God punished you for being selfish. That's why you got sick. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Who says that to a 6-year-old? Who tells a child that her mother was punished by God? Amara, listen to me. I don't want to talk anymore, she said, turning back to her book. I'm reading. I sat there for another moment, trying to figure out what to say, how to fix this. But I had nothing. I was too tired, too overwhelmed, too broken. I went back downstairs and found Cleta in the kitchen, fixing Isaiah's bottle like it was the most natural thing in the world. What did you tell my daughter? I asked, my voice shaking. Cleta looked up, all innocence. I'm sorry? Amara just told me you said I was on vacation, that I didn't want Isaiah, that God punished me. I think you misunderstood. Did you say those things to her or not? Cleta set down the bottle. LaShawn, you're clearly exhausted. Maybe you should rest. We can talk about this later. No, we're talking about it now. You're being paranoid. Answer the question. Curtis appeared in the doorway. What's going on? Your mother has been telling our children that I was on vacation while I was dying in the ICU, I said, my voice rising. She told them I didn't want Isaiah, that God was punishing me for being selfish. Curtis turned to his mother. Mama, what is she talking about? I have no idea, Cleta said calmly. I think the stress and the medication are affecting her thinking. She's not herself right now. Don't you dare gaslight me, I said. I think you need to rest, Clara continued, speaking to Curtis like I wasn't even there. This paranoia, it's not healthy. Maybe she should talk to her doctor. And that's when I knew. She wasn't going to admit it. She was going to deny everything, make me look crazy, turn Curtis against me too. I looked at my husband, silently begging him to believe me. For a long, terrible moment, I thought he wouldn't. Then Curtis said quietly, "Mama, I think you should leave for tonight. We'll talk tomorrow." "Curtis, please, just go." Clara grabbed her purse, her face tight with anger, but she left, and I collapsed onto the couch and cried. Continued in next message due to length. Over the next few days, I started piecing together what had really happened during those 3 weeks. One night, I heard whispers coming from Amara's room. It was past bedtime, but the voices were soft and scared. I stood outside her door, listening. "Do you think Mama's gonna leave again?" Amara's voice, small and frightened. "I don't know." Elijah, he sounded older than 8, tired. "Grandma said she might, that she was tired of us." "Grandma says a lot of stuff." "But what if it's true? What if Mama doesn't really want to be here?" There was a long pause. Then Elijah said, "She looks different, skinnier, sad. She cries a lot. I heard her last night." "Me too." Another pause. Then Amara, barely a whisper, "I'm scared, Eli." "Me too." "What if she leaves and never comes back? What if Grandma was right and Mama just wanted a vacation from us?" Then Elijah's voice cracked. "Then I guess we'll be okay. We have Dad, and we have each other. But I want Mama." "I know. Me too." I pressed my hand against the door, tears streaming down my face. My babies were lying in the dark, terrified, trying to comfort each other because they thought I might abandon them. I opened the door quietly. Both kids jumped, caught.
"Mama," Elijah started. "Scoot over," I said softly. They made room, and I climbed into Amara's small bed with both of them, held them close. "I heard you," I said, "and I need you to hear me. I am never, ever leaving you. Not by choice, not ever. Do you understand?" But Grandma said Grandma lied. And I know that's scary. I know it's hard to know who to trust, but I'm telling you the truth right now. I love you, both of you, more than anything in this world, and I'm not going anywhere. Amara started crying. "Promise?" "I promise, baby girl. On everything I am, I promise." We lay there together until they both fell asleep, their breathing evening out, their small bodies finally relaxing against mine. And I stayed there all night, holding them, silently swearing that I would fight every single day to prove to them that I meant what I said. The next morning, I talked to Elijah when Curtis wasn't home and Clara wasn't there. Asked him carefully what Grandma had said while I was gone. He told me everything. The vacation story, the beach photos on Clara's phone, the comments about how tired I'd been, how overwhelmed, how maybe I'd wanted space. "She said you loved the new baby more than us," Elijah admitted, his voice small. "That's why you got sick, because you were ignoring us to focus on him." Each word was a knife to my heart. "She said we shouldn't get too attached to you," he continued, "because you might leave again. Because moms who get that sick usually don't come back right." "Oh, baby." "And she said if you did die, she would be our new mom. That it would be okay because she'd take care of us better than you did." I pulled him into a hug, and he clung to me, crying. "None of that is true," I whispered fiercely. "None of it. I would never leave you. I fought so hard to come back to you." "But Grandma said..."
Grandma lied.
I don't know why, but she lied. That night, when Clara came back, let herself in with a key I hadn't known she had, Curtis and I were waiting for her. But before we could start talking, I noticed something. Clara had a folder in her hand, a manila folder that looked familiar. "What's that?" I asked. "Nothing," she said quickly, putting it behind her back. Curtis stood up. "Mama, what's in your hand?" "It's nothing, just some papers." Curtis walked over and took the folder from her, opened it. His face went white. "These are Isaiah's birth certificate, his social security card, his vaccination records." He looked at his mother. "Why do you have these?" Clara's face flushed. "I was just organizing. I thought I'd help you get them filed properly." "Bullshit," I said, standing up. My hands were shaking. "You were taking them. You were going to take my son's documents." "That's ridiculous. Were you planning to claim him?" Curtis's voice was deadly quiet. "Were you going to try to get legal guardianship while LaShawn was in the hospital?" Clara's silence was answer enough. "Oh my God," Curtis breathed. "You were actually going to try to take him." "I was thinking about what was best for the children." "Get out," I said, "right now, before I call the police." "LaShawn, you're overreacting. You tried to steal my baby's identity documents." My voice rose. "You were planning this, all of it. You weren't just trying to bond with them. You were trying to legally take them." Clara's mask finally shattered completely. "Someone had to think about their future. You were dying. Curtis was falling apart. Those children needed stability, and I could give them that." "By stealing them?" Curtis was shaking now. "By forging documents? By... Jesus Christ, Mama, what were you thinking?" "I was thinking about those babies," Clara screamed back. But we were done listening. Curtis took the folder from her, locked it in his office, and told his mother to leave immediately. And this time, we made sure she gave back her key. After she left, Curtis and I just looked at each other, both of us shaking. "She was really going to do it," he said. "She was going to try to take them." "I know. My own mother. I know, baby, I know." We had to sit down and call a lawyer the next day. Found out Clara couldn't have gotten guardianship without Curtis's consent, but the fact that she'd tried, that she'd been planning it, changed everything. This wasn't just manipulation. This was attempted theft of our children, of our family. And it meant we could never, ever let our guard down around her again. A week after that night, Curtis and I had another confrontation with Clara. The real one. The final one. "We need to talk," Curtis said. "Sit down." "About what?" "About what you told our children while LaShawn was in the hospital." Clara's face went carefully blank. "I don't know what you mean." "Elijah told us," I said. "Everything. The vacation story, the beach photos, telling them I didn't want them, telling them you'd be a better mother." For just a second, Clara's mask slipped. I saw something flash across her face. Panic, maybe, or anger that she'd been caught. Then she composed herself. "That child is confused," she said smoothly. "He's mixing things up. I never said any of that." "He gave us very specific details," Curtis said. "He's 8 years old. Children that age have vivid imaginations, especially after trauma." "So you're saying our son is lying?" I asked. "I'm saying he's mistaken."
I was trying to comfort him. Maybe he misunderstood. Stop, Curtis said. Stop. I know my son, and I know when someone's lying to me. Clara stood up. I will not be spoken to this way. I dropped everything to help this family. I took care of your children when you, she pointed at me, were too weak to do it yourself. And this is the thanks I get? You didn't help, I said quietly. You tried to replace me. That's ridiculous. You moved into my house, wore my apron, rearranged my furniture, threw away my things, did my daughter's hair your way, not mine, and you told my children I'd abandoned them. I did no such thing. Yes, you did. I was screaming now, all the rage and hurt and betrayal pouring out. You spent 3 weeks poisoning my children against me while I was unconscious in the ICU. You tried to turn them against me so you could take my place. I was preparing them, Clara shouted back. You almost died, LaShawn. The doctors said you might not make it. I was helping them detach so it wouldn't destroy them when you didn't come home. The room went silent. Curtis stared at his mother like he'd never seen her before. You were helping them detach? Yes, Clara said, and she sounded defensive now, desperate. Someone had to think about what was best for those children. If you died, they would have needed me to step in. I was laying the groundwork. Laying the groundwork, Curtis repeated slowly. To replace their mother. To help them transition. You wanted me to die, I whispered. No, I never wanted. You did. You hoped I wouldn't come back so you could have them, so you could be their mother instead of their grandmother. That's not get out, Curtis said, his voice deadly quiet. Curtis, you're not listening. Get out of my house! Clara grabbed her purse, her face flushed with anger. You're making a huge mistake, both of you. When she falls apart again, and she will, she's too weak for this. Don't come crying to me. I won't be there to clean up your mess. Good, Curtis said. She stormed out. The door slammed so hard the windows rattled. And then it was just us, Curtis and me, standing in our living room, trying to process what had just happened. Upstairs, I heard Amara's door open. She'd heard everything. I went to her, found her sitting on her bed, tears streaming down her face.
Is Grandma really gone? She asked. Yeah, baby. Forever? I don't know. Maybe. But I love her, Amara sobbed. I know you do, sweetness, and it's okay to love her and still be mad at her for what she did. Why did she lie to us? How do you explain this to a 6-year-old? How do you tell her that sometimes adults do cruel things because they're broken inside? Because she wanted to be important, I said finally, and she went about it in a very wrong way. Amara crawled into my lap, something she hadn't done since I came home. I'm sorry I believed her. You're 6 years old. You're supposed to trust adults. This isn't your fault. Promise you won't leave again? I promise, baby girl. I will always, always fight to come back to you. The weeks after Clara left were some of the hardest of my entire life. The kids were confused, grieving, angry. They missed their grandmother even though she'd betrayed them. They were mad at me for sending her away, even though they knew intellectually that it was necessary. Amara had nightmares. She'd wake up crying, and when I'd go to comfort her, she'd push me away at first, then pull me close, then push me away again.
like she couldn't decide if she trusted me or not. Elijah was quieter, more withdrawn. He'd do what I asked, but it was out of obligation, not love. And Isaiah still cried when I held him. 3 weeks is forever to a newborn. Clara was who he knew. Clara was his mother, as far as his infant brain was concerned. I'd survived sepsis, beaten an infection that should have killed me, and I was losing my children anyway. 2 weeks after Clara left, I hit rock bottom. It was a Saturday. Curtis was at work. Overtime he'd had to pick up because we had medical bills piling up. I was home alone with the kids. Isaiah had been crying for an hour. Nothing I did helped. I'd fed him, changed him, rocked him, walked with him. Nothing worked. Amara was in her room, door closed, ignoring me. Elijah was in the living room, playing video games with his back to me, and I was standing in the nursery with a screaming baby, feeling like the most inadequate mother in the world. Clara would know what to do. The thought came unbidden, unwanted. Clara could calm him down. The kids were right. I'm too weak for this. I put Isaiah in his crib, still crying, and went into the bathroom and locked the door. And I broke. Deep, ugly sobs that shook my whole body. I cried for the time I'd lost. I cried for the children who didn't trust me. I cried for the mother I used to be before sepsis and Clara tried to destroy me. I cried until I had nothing left. Curtis found me there when he got home 2 hours later. The kids had called him, scared because Mama wouldn't come out of the bathroom. He didn't say anything, just sat on the bathroom floor and held me while I fell apart. "I can't do this," I sobbed. "They hate me. My own children hate me." "They don't hate you," Curtis said. "They're confused. They're hurt. But they don't hate you." "What if they never forgive me? What if I lost them for good?" "You didn't lose them," Curtis said firmly. "They're right here. They're just scared. But we'll get through this. I promise." I wanted to believe him, but I didn't know how. It was my friend Keisha who finally convinced me to see a therapist. She came over one afternoon, took one look at me, and said, "Girl, you need professional help." I know. No, I mean it. Someone who specializes in this kind of trauma. "I don't have trauma," I said automatically. Keisha looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "LaShawn, you almost died. You were in a coma for 3 weeks. You came home to find your mother-in-law had poisoned your children against you. If that's not trauma, I don't know what is." She was right. So I found Dr. Michelle Harris, a Black woman in her 50s who specialized in postpartum mental health and family trauma. Our first session, I cried for 45 minutes straight. "I don't understand why this is so hard," I told her. "I survived. I should be grateful. But instead, I feel like I lost everything anyway." "You did lose things," Dr. Harris said gently. "You lost time with your newborn. You lost the bond with your older children. You lost your sense of safety in your own family. Those are real losses, LaShawn, and it's okay to grieve them." "But everyone keeps telling me I should just be happy I'm alive." You can be both. You can be grateful you survived and devastated by what you lost. Those feelings can exist at the same time. Over the next few weeks, Dr. Harris helped me understand what had happened. She explained that Clara had engaged in something called parental alienation. systematically turning children against a parent through manipulation and lies. It's a form of emotional abuse, Dr. Harris said, and it's incredibly damaging, especially to young children who don't have the cognitive tools to recognize manipulation. How do I fix it? I asked. Time, consistency, showing up every day, even when they push you away. Proving through your actions that you're not the person Clara told them you were. She gave me specific strategies. Every morning, wake them up gently. Use the same words, the same routine every single day. Consistency builds trust. Find one small thing to do together every day. Reading a book, making a snack. 5 minutes of connection, even if it's hard. Don't badmouth Clara. Let them have their feelings about her. Saying grandma was wrong is fine. Saying grandma is evil will make them defensive. Create new rituals, new memories. Build on the foundation of who you were before, but make new traditions too. She also gave us a homework assignment. Trust rebuilding exercises. Every evening, we'd do Rose, Thorn, and Bud. Each person shared one good thing from their day, Rose, one hard thing, Thorn, and one thing they were looking forward to, Bud. At first, the kids wouldn't participate.
Then Elijah started. Then Amara. Slowly, they opened up. We started Mama and Me time, 15 minutes alone with each child every day. No phones, no interruptions, just me and them. For Amara, we'd color or paint. For Elijah, we'd read or play a game. Those 15 minutes became sacred. Dr. Harris taught me about repair conversations. When something went wrong, when I snapped at them out of exhaustion, when they pushed me away and I got hurt, we'd come back together and talk about it. I'm sorry I raised my voice. I was tired, but that's not an excuse. You didn't deserve that. I know you pushed me away because you're still scared I'll leave. I understand, but I'm not going anywhere. Little by little, brick by brick, we rebuilt what Clara had tried to destroy. There were setbacks. 3 months in, Amara had a huge tantrum and screamed, "I want Grandma! Grandma was nicer than you!" It felt like a knife to the heart, but Dr. Harris helped me see it differently. She's testing you, seeing if you'll abandon her when she's difficult, when she says hurtful things. You passed the test by staying calm and staying present. 4 months in, Elijah came home from school crying. Another kid had said, "Your grandma tried to steal you from your mom? That's messed up." We talked about it, about how yes, it was messed up, but it didn't define our family. We were healing. We were okay. 5 months in, Isaiah said, "Mama," for the first time, and reached for me instead of Curtis. I cried for an hour. I started implementing her suggestions immediately. Every morning, I'd wake Amara with a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Good morning, sunshine. Time to rise and shine." The same words my mother used to say to me. Every afternoon, I'd sit with Elijah for 10 minutes and just listen. About his day, his games, his books. No judgment, no correction. Just presence. Every evening, I'd give Isaiah his bath. Even though he'd cry, even though it hurt when he reached for Curtis instead of me, I showed up. Curtis started family therapy sessions, all 4 of us, working through what had happened with Dr. Harris's guidance. In one session, Amara asked, "Why did Grandma lie to us?" Dr. Harris turned the question back to her. "Why do you think she did?" Because she wanted to be our mama?" "That's right.
Dr. Harris said. Your grandmother saw your mama being sick as an opportunity to take her place, and that wasn't okay. But why? Amara's eyes filled with tears. Didn't she love us? I think she did, Dr. Harris said carefully. But sometimes people who love us still hurt us. Sometimes they do bad things because they're scared or wanting something they can't have. Elijah spoke up. Is it our fault that we believed her? No, Dr. Harris said firmly. You were children. She was an adult you trusted. When adults lie to children, that's the adult's fault, not the children's. The sessions were hard. Sometimes the kids would refuse to talk. Sometimes they'd get angry and storm out. Sometimes we'd all end up crying. But slowly, so slowly, things started to get better. Amara started letting me read to her at bedtime again. Just once a week at first, then twice, then every night. She started asking me to braid her hair. Can you do it like you used to, not like Grandma did it? She started telling me about her day without me having to drag it out of her. Elijah started seeking me out when he needed help, with homework, with friend problems, with life. He started calling me Mama again instead of Mom. He started hugging me goodbye before school. And Isaiah, my baby boy who'd only known Clara for his first month, slowly started to recognize me as his mother, started calming down when I held him, started reaching for me when he was upset, started smiling when I walked into the room. It took months, but bit by bit, day by day, I got my family back. 4 months after Clara left, Curtis got an email from her. She'd been in therapy, she said. She understood what she'd done was wrong. She wanted to apologize. We spent a long time talking about it. Me, Curtis, Dr. Harris, trying to figure out the right thing to do. The kids deserve an apology, Dr. Harris said. But you need to be very careful about how much access she gets. What if she hasn't really changed? I asked. What if this is just another manipulation? Then you'll know, Dr. Harris said, and you'll cut her off again. But giving her one chance to make this right, with strict boundaries, that's not unreasonable. So we agreed to meet with Clara, just the adults, at Dr. Harris's office, neutral territory. Clara looked older when she walked in, smaller, more fragile, but I'd learned not to trust appearances. Thank you for seeing me, she said, her voice shaking. Talk, Curtis said flatly. Clara took a deep breath. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. I know sorry doesn't undo the damage I did. But I need you to know that I understand now. Dr. Harris spoke up. Clara, can you tell them what you understand? Clara's voice broke. I tried to replace you, LaShawn. I saw you being sick, maybe dying, and I saw an opportunity to be the mother again, to be needed, to be important. Why? I asked. Because I was jealous. Tears were streaming down her face now. Of your family, of the life you built. Curtis was my whole world, and then he married you and had children, and suddenly I wasn't as important anymore. And when you got sick, when you might have died, her voice dropped to a whisper. I saw a chance to get that back. She looked at Curtis, her face crumbling. You don't understand what it was like. After your father died, you were all I had, just you and me. I raised you alone, and you were my purpose, my reason for getting up every morning. And then you grew up. You left. You built a life that didn't need me anymore. Mama,
Curtis started. No, let me finish. Clara wiped her eyes. When you called me that night, when LaShawn got sick, I thought, this is it. This is my chance to be needed again, to be essential. And the more I took care of those children, the more I felt like myself again, like I mattered. You always mattered, Curtis said quietly. Not the same way. Not like when you were little and I was your whole world. She looked at me. I wasn't trying to hurt you, LaShawn. I was trying to save myself. I was drowning in loneliness, and your crisis was my life raft, and I grabbed onto it without thinking about who I was hurting. Dr. Harris spoke gently. Clara, what you're describing is a fear of abandonment, a fear of becoming irrelevant. But trying to fill that void by taking someone else's children, I know, Clara sobbed. I know it was wrong. I know I hurt them. I hurt everyone. But in those 3 weeks, for the first time since Curtis left home, I felt like a mother again. And I couldn't let that go, even when it meant destroying you. So you tried to turn my children against me, I said, my voice hard. Yes. I told them you'd abandon them. I told them you didn't want them. I showed them fake photos and made up stories, and slowly, systematically, tried to make them see me as their mother instead of you. While I was dying. Yes. Clara was sobbing now. While you were dying, I was trying to take your place. And I knew it was wrong. I knew it even while I was doing it, but I couldn't stop. It felt so good to be needed like that, to be the one they ran to be important again. Dr. Harris spoke again. Clara, what do you understand about how this affected the children? Clara looked at Dr. Harris, then at us. I traumatized them. I made them doubt their mother. I made them feel like loving you meant betraying me, and loving me meant betraying you. I put them in an impossible position, and they were just children. They didn't deserve that. No, Curtis said quietly, they didn't. I've been in therapy twice a week, Clara continued, working on understanding why I did it, why I need to control things, why I can't let people live their own lives without me managing it. And I'm learning, slowly, but I'm learning. What do you want from us? I asked. I want to apologize to my grandchildren. I want a chance, just one chance to try to make this right. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway. Curtis looked at me. What do you think? I thought about Amara asking where Grandma was, about Elijah saying he missed her even though he was angry, about how children deserve their grandmothers if those grandmothers can be safe. Supervised visits, I said. Short ones, with both of us present. And if you ever say anything negative about me to those children, if you ever try to undermine me or manipulate them again, you're done. Forever. Do you understand? I understand, Clara whispered. And you don't live with us, Curtis added. You get a hotel. You visit at our house, on our schedule, with our rules. Okay. And you'll continue therapy. And Dr. Harris will check in with you. And if she thinks you're backsliding, we end it immediately. I'll do whatever you ask. The first visit was 2 weeks later. Clara came to our house for 1 hour, just 1 hour, with Curtis and me both there, watching carefully. The kids were excited and nervous. Amara kept asking if Grandma was going to stay. Elijah was quieter, more guarded. Clara brought gifts, small ones, nothing extravagant. A book for each kid, nothing more. "Hi, babies," she said when they came into the living room, and she was already crying. "I missed you so much." "I missed you too," Amara said, running to her. Elijah hung back. Clara knelt down to Amara's level. "I need to tell you something very important. Can you listen?" Amara nodded. "I lied to you. When your mama was in the hospital, I told you she was on vacation. I told you she didn't want your baby brother. I told you God was punishing her. And none of that was true." Amara's smile faded. "Why did you lie?" "Because I was scared and selfish. I wanted you to need me instead of your mama, and that was very, very wrong. Can you forgive me?" Amara looked at me like she was asking permission. I nodded gently. "I forgive you, Grandma," Amara said quietly. Clara looked at Elijah. "What about you, baby? Can you forgive me too?" Elijah crossed his arms. "I don't know yet. You really hurt Mama." "I know I did, and I'm so sorry, to her and to all of you." "If you hurt her again, I'm never talking to you again," Elijah said fiercely. "I understand, and I won't. I promise." The visit was awkward, but not terrible. Clara was careful, respectful. She asked permission before hugging the kids. She didn't contradict me or Curtis. She left exactly when we said the hour was up. After she left, Amara asked, "Is Grandma going to live with us again?" "No, baby. She's going to live at her own house." "But we can see her sometimes?" "Yes, sometimes. When we all agree it's okay." "Okay." Amara seemed satisfied with that. That night, Elijah came to me before bed. "Mama, I'm still mad at Grandma." "That's okay. You're allowed to be mad." "But Amara already forgave her." "Amara's 6. She doesn't fully understand everything that happened. You're older. You get to have your own feelings, and you get to take your own time." "I don't know if I trust her anymore." "That's very wise," I said. "Trust has to be earned, and Grandma broke your trust. It might take a long time for her to earn it back, if she ever does." He hugged me tight. "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, baby boy." 1 year after I came home from the hospital, things finally felt normal again. Not the same, never the same, but normal in a new way. The kids trusted me. They came to me when they were hurt or scared or just needed their mama. They didn't question my love anymore. Amara still asked sometimes, "You're not going to leave again, right?" And I'd always say, "Never. I'm not going anywhere." Elijah was protective of me now. If someone at school said something about moms, he'd defend me fiercely. "My mama almost died having my brother, and she fought her way back to us. She's the strongest person I know." Isaiah was 16 months old, walking and babbling and calling me Mama clear as day. He reached for me when he wanted comfort. He laughed when I tickled him. He was mine, fully and completely. Clara came for supervised visits once a month. She was appropriate, careful, respectful. She never contradicted me, never tried to undermine me. She'd even apologized to the kids multiple times in different ways, making sure they understood it hadn't been their fault. But I never fully trusted her again. I couldn't. Not after what she'd done. One evening, I was putting Amara to bed.
She was 7 now, and she still sometimes asked me to lie with her until she fell asleep. "Mama?" she said in the darkness. "Yes, baby?" "I'm glad you didn't die." My throat tightened. "Me too, sweetness." "And I'm sorry I believed Grandma when she said you left us." "You were 6 years old, Amara. You believed an adult you loved. That's what you're supposed to do." "I'll never believe anyone who says bad things about you again." "Good. But even more important, if I'm ever gone again for any reason, you remember that I love you, and I'm coming back, okay? No matter what anyone says." "Okay." She snuggled closer. "Will you always come back?" "Always," I promised. "I will always, always fight to come back to you." She fell asleep in my arms, and I stayed there long after she'd drifted off, just holding her. Just being grateful I was alive to hold her. Later, I checked on Elijah. He was reading in bed, his lamp on. "Time to sleep, baby," I said. "Can you stay for a minute?" he asked. I sat on the edge of his bed. "What's up?" "I was just thinking about when you were sick, about how I thought you'd left us." "I would never leave you, Eli." "I know that now, but for a while I really thought you did, and it scared me so much." "I'm sorry you were scared." "It's not your fault." He looked up at me. "But sometimes I still get scared. Like, what if you get sick again? What if next time you don't come back?" "Baby, I can't promise I'll never get sick again. But I can promise I'll always fight. Always. And you know what else?" "What?" "You're strong enough to handle it. All of you are. You're stronger than you think." He thought about that. "I guess we did okay when you were gone, even with Grandma being weird." "You did amazing. And your daddy was there for you. And no matter what happens, we're a family. We'll always take care of each other." "Okay." He hugged me. "Love you, Mama." "Love you too, baby. So much." I checked on Isaiah, sound asleep, thumb in his mouth, completely peaceful. Then I went downstairs to Curtis. "Everyone okay?" he asked. "Everyone's perfect," I said. And for the first time in over a year, I really believed it. We sat on the back porch together, holding hands in the darkness. "You know what I was thinking about?" Curtis said. "What?" "That day in the hospital, when the doctor said you might not make it. I thought my world was ending." "But it didn't." "No. But what came after? I never imagined it would be this hard. I thought if you survived, we'd just go back to normal." "We did go back to normal. Just a different normal." "Yeah." He squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you, you know, for fighting so hard, for not giving up on them even when they pushed you away." "I could never give up on them. They're my babies." "I know, but a lot of people would have. What my mother did, that was evil, and you fought through it anyway." "We both did. You stood with me. You believed me when your mother tried to make me look crazy. That meant everything." "She's my mother, but you're my wife, and those are my children. I'll always choose you." Inside, Isaiah started crying. Just a little fussy cry, not an emergency. "I'll get him," I said,
You sure? Yeah, I got it. I went upstairs, picked up my baby boy. He settled immediately against my shoulder. Hey, Isaiah, I whispered. Mama's got you. Mama, he murmured sleepily. Just that. Just Mama. And it was everything. I rocked him gently, humming the lullaby my own mother used to sing to me, the one I'd sung to Elijah and Amara when they were babies, the one Clara had tried to replace. But this was my song, my baby, my family, and I'd fought like hell to keep them. Isaiah fell back asleep. I put him in his crib, kissed his forehead, whispered, "I love you," even though he couldn't hear. Then I stood in his doorway, watching him sleep, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Complete. I checked on Amara one more time, sleeping peacefully, her stuffed bunny clutched to her chest. Checked on Elijah, completely out, mouth open, his book still on the bed beside him. My babies, all three of them, safe and loved and mine. I went back downstairs to Curtis. "Everyone good?" he asked. "Everyone's perfect," I said, and this time I knew it was true. It had been the hardest year of my life, harder than sepsis, harder than nearly dying, because this hadn't been a physical battle, it had been psychological, emotional, a fight to reclaim my place in my family, a fight to prove to my children that I was their mother and I wasn't going anywhere. But I'd won. We'd won. All of us together. And now, finally, we were healing. Every morning, I still wake my children with the same gentle words. Every evening, I still tuck them in and tell them I love them. Every day, I show up. I prove with my actions that I'm here, I'm staying, I'm their mother. Some days are easier than others. Sometimes Amara still wakes up from nightmares. Sometimes Elijah still needs reassurance that I'm not leaving. Sometimes Isaiah clings to me like he's afraid I'll disappear. But we're a family, a real family, not the one we used to be. We can't go back to that. But a stronger one, a family that survived nearly losing each other and chose to fight our way back together. Clara still visits once a month. The kids still love her, and I've made peace with that. Because children should be allowed to love their grandmothers, even flawed ones. But I watch carefully now. I listen, and I trust my instincts. Because I learned something through all of this. I'm stronger than I thought. I can survive not just a near-death experience, but the aftermath of betrayal. I can fight for my family, even when I'm exhausted and heartbroken and don't know if I'll win. And I learned that my children are resilient, that even when trust is broken, it can be rebuilt. It takes time and patience and showing up every single day. But it's possible. 1 year later, and we're okay. Really okay. Not perfect. Never perfect. But we're together. We're healing. We're home. And that's everything.